Ladies, gentlemen, good evening, morning, afternoon, hello, welcome to this special episode of Changing the Questions, where we're going to be taking a look at yesterday's NXT Takeover London show, the spectacular NXT Takeover London show. My name is Paul Laporte. Joining me, as always, is my partner in crime, Michael Manor.
How you doing, guys? Let us warm you up for a little while. Come hither.
Sit by the fire. And
enjoy our chats.
Sit by the fire and enjoy a discussion on fantastic
entertainment,
show.
Yes. On entertainment, is it? Or is it wrestling?
Well, depends on who you ask.
Entertaining wrestling. I think it's entertaining.
This was some of the best wrestling we've seen in a very long time. NXT Takeover
We can agree
London,
on that.
One of their big shows they've been building up to for quite some time. The crowd certainly did not disappoint, and the matches were excellent as well.
Love the crowd.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get right into. First of all, before we get into the matches, though, only 5 matches on the card. It's kind of a small card, not short because it went the same time as they all do. Well, it went 2 hours, but only 5 matches on the card. So some people are saying that it felt a little, like they would have liked to see another match in there. I know that they did some dark matches that they taped for the next NXT episode that we'll probably be seeing. I personally think that this was fine. I was fine with just them doing the 5 matches, just because it just felt like these are the important ones, let's get those done, and we don't need to bog it down with anything else.
There's the old saying, quality over quantity, and this is what this was.
Absolutely. So
this is a perfect example of that, and shows you what can be done within 2 hours of a special show.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and move on to the first match. Asuka defeating Emma in this... Man, it's tough to say what was match of the night in this show because every match was very high quality. I really enjoyed this match a lot. This was a match that I think some people did not expect to be as competitive as it was. I thought it was going to be competitive. I figured Emma was going to be the one who was going to kind of bring it to Asuka. There was a lot of back and forth between those two. They played very well off of each other. Emma does not get the credit that she deserves for being a good in-ring worker and being really one of the people who introduced women's wrestling. We talk about the bullshit all the time with the Divas Revolution or whatever, but really she was one of the people at the forefront of that.
That's a strong understatement because she's been around quite a while now and, like you said, never got the credit she deserved, and hopefully, something comes of this and she's a bit more recognized, at least pretty soon. But, you couldn't go wrong with this match opening up the show. Very strong opening.
Well, I don't know, though.
I thought it was strong.
It was strong, but it was a case of, like, with TLC last Sunday, was it too strong? I mean, they didn't really have... Fortunately, this wasn't a case of TLC where they had, the Salida del Sol off the ladder, and then you move on to friggin' Rusev and Ryback.
Well, for the main show, I mean, it's, if... there were dark matches that were taped for next week, which, I'm sure there was. Yeah. For an opening of a show that was going to be live, it was a great way to start it, I thought. And, it got the crowd going and kept them going. And, it blended well into the next match.
And these two worked together really well, and I really loved the shenanigans towards the end of the match. First of all, I want to say, if there's anybody in WWE or NXT that I've done kind of like a complete 180 on, it's Dana Brooke.
Yeah,
because she went from this person who just you just did not. She had X-Pac heat. You did not want to see her out there. I don't want to see you wrestling. Why are you here too? You are just the most ridiculous, annoying cornball heel, and I love you for it. And I think that Dana Brooke being ringside added to this match. That she was just screaming complete and total nonsense the whole time.
Yeah, and that's the funny part is a couple of months ago I've heard that her voice was more akin to a very large truck horn. That's what came across with her, no matter what she spoke. But now, like you said, it's complete nonsense, and it's great.
It's just Emma is. I remember at one point Emma had a submission on Asuka, and Dana was screaming, "Don't give up, Emma!" Yeah. It wasn't even a matter of her fighting out of a submission. It was a matter of
slamming the man. They just don't give up.
Hold on to this. You can do this, please. For us both. The point where Brooke commended Emma as though she were some sort of border collie. She's like, "Good girl, Emma. Good girl."
Yeah.
So Dana Brooke just screaming nonsense. And like I said, that's what she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be a heel that's annoying and a pain in the ass, but I think she does it in good and effective ways as opposed to the way that she kind of initially was, where it's like, you're being annoying, but not on purpose. Now she's going out of her way to be annoying and obnoxious. And of course,
this has got a certain charm to it, and it comes through now. Whereas before, it was just like it's like you said, obnoxious. I think is the word used.
Yeah.
It was just too much, I think. But now she's kind of leveled it out to where it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and she did play a role at the end of the match. I thought the ending was booked really well in that there was shenanigans after shenanigans after shenanigans. First, you have Dana Brooke interfering, trying to get in the way of the referee. Every time that she does, Asuka just manages to overcome it. Dana then passes Emma her belt before walking out. And you think, first you thought, Emma was going to distract, or Dana was going to distract Asuka, and then Emma was going to get the win with the Emma lock or something like that.
I thought maybe the ref was going to be turned around and.
There was a roll-up sequence.
Now that I think about it, they have a thing against choking people with objects like that, so maybe not. But I had it in my head at the time. Maybe she was going to take her out, kind of put her to sleep with the belt, and then pin her or whatever else. The ref maybe sees her knocked out like Asuka's opponent last week, but that didn't happen. Then you got the idea that maybe Asuka was going to, be disqualified for picking up the belt, and the ref seeing her with it, and that didn't happen. It kind of went from there.
Yeah, every time you thought, this is going to be the way that Emma gets gets the screwy finish.
And they were all kind of obvious endings, too. Like, it's like, we've seen this before, we've seen this before. But you know what? A lot of them I would have been okay with.
Yeah, I would have been fine with any of those going down the way they did. But Asuka's just like,
the ending
LOL,
they did
nope.
use. Yeah. The ending they did use, I loved it because it paralleled what happened last week. She used the same exact kick in almost the same exact way to beat Emma, and I like that. I like the way it connected from last week's show.
Yeah, and you can certainly make the argument about how incredibly strong Asuka's being booked. She is probably the most dominant force in all of WWE next to Brock Lesnar. She is just like a whirling dervish of hell that you cannot defeat under any normal circumstances. And you can question whether or not it's a good idea to bring her up like that, but I thought the match was entertaining. It adds to Asuka's mystique, and it brought Emma up another level as well. I'd love to see, this theoretically is probably the blow-off to their feud, and we're going to see Asuka move on to, they teased Nia Jax. We'll get to that a little later on. I would personally love to see these two go back at it and build to another match, just because I think that there's more that they can do, and I think it would continue to kind of progress Emma into that role of not just being the cheating cowardly heel, but she can just pull it out and kick your ass when she needs to. Like, she can basically become one of the other most dominant women, because Bayley's going to need a new challenger now, which we'll again talk about later. I think Emma's a perfect choice for that.
I can see something happening with Dana Brooke and Emma as far as a split goes, but I don't want to jump to conclusions on that, but I don't want that to happen. But I can see it happening, and that's it. Is they're good together, but for how long are they going to keep them together? But what I want and what they're going to do are two completely different things. But who knows?
Right,
we'll just have to watch.
All right, so moving on to our next match, the NXT Tag Team Championship match. Dash and Dawson defeating Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore, and this had another really great feel to it. The London crowd loved Enzo. They loved Cass. And these four guys just put on a very solid match. I think people were kind of expecting that Enzo and Cass were going to go over here.
Yeah.
And I like this match, especially coming after the last match, because they had very kind of similar ends in that both of them involved a ton of shenanigans, cheating on multiple occasions in multiple different ways, but whereas in the first match, the face managed to overcome those odds, in the second match, the faces did not, and the heels managed to get away, but they had to put a lot of effort into doing it, and I think that
both teams came out better for it.
Yeah, this match just built up Dash and Dawson. The Shatter Machine off the top rope looked great. Enzo always looks good taking offense. Enzo doing that side flip off the clothesline that I think it was Dash Wilder laid into him.
Yeah.
Looked fantastic. He's just a absolute selling machine. But
and it took that shatter machine from the second rope to actually go and take him out.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing I really like is the story that is kind of being told with Enzo was basically before he was just a weapon for Cass to throw around.
Yeah.
Now he actually holds his own and serves a purpose and actually contributes to the team on his own. And I think that story kind of furthered tonight. And I think that once he gets to the end of that arc, then we're going to see them. That's when we're going to see them win the belt. I think when Enzo and Cass actually do win the belt, it's going to be Enzo saving Cass and getting the victory there. I think that that's how you end that story.
It's going to mean a lot because it's been such a slow burn from them. They've come a long way since the days of teaming up against Mason Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things where you want it to happen, you want it to happen, you want it to happen, but it never happens. But when it happens, you're going to be very happy that it has happened.
Absolutely. And this is how you do that build in the right way as opposed to what WWE did with Daniel Bryan, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Where it's, we're going to give you this and now we're going to take it away. This is, we're almost going to give you it, but it's going to fall just short and we're going to give you a good reason why.
And we're not going to give it to you and then take it away. We're not, you have to actually earn it.
Honestly, I don't know how well Dash and Dawson would do if they pulled up to the main card. I just don't think that WWE has the patience to just put over a solid, good wrestling team. But I'm happy with the work they're doing in NXT. I think the tag team division is probably the best it's been. This will probably move them on to Jordan and Gable, presumably. But we'll see where that goes.
Those guys are coming up huge. Yeah. And the one thing that I can nitpick about in this match, and it's my nitpick, and maybe you've seen it too, but Cass's leg was worked on for quite a while, and then
towards the end, he just completely forgot it.
That's right.
Yeah.
He had that reverse figure four clamped in, that inverted figure four, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know the move I'm talking about. And then he gets up and he starts running at his opponents and just
jumps the kick to the knee. Yeah,
and launches. And so I get it. Maybe they'll go, oh, he's adrenalized, but come on, even when you're adrenalized like that. If your knee wants to buckle, your knee's going to buckle.
Yeah. What they should have done is they could have still done all of that, but then had it end by him just kind of going down or grabbing his knee or whatever. That was his last burst. This is all I have left. Here we go. I would have appreciated that, but I did agree. I do agree with you, and I did notice that it was oh, Cass just forgot his leg has been worked on this whole match.
I mean, for me, it was a very solid match. So it's a nit on my part, and maybe a nit on your part as well for an otherwise really strong match.
Yeah.
So,
all right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next match. Baron Corbin defeated Apollo Crews. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this. Clearly, WWE is very high on Baron Corbin. And these two work really well together. They put on a good match. Baron Corbin is doing a really good job of starting to get that heel heat. Again, not just in the X-Pac way, but in the way of, I'm actually working to make you dislike me. And I think he's doing a good job of that. We both...
strangely, I wanted Corbin to win this match. I mean, I love Crews, but you know what? Corbin's that guy that will get under your skin, and
I mean, and you can only have so many unstoppable baby faces. You've got to have
an unstoppable heel at some point.
Yeah, and you have to have just the baby faces getting cut short and having to come back. And now Apollo Crews' undefeated streak has been brought to an end cleanly. Corbin did a great job,
and Crews didn't hurt for it.
Yeah,
he had a very strong performance. And
Corbin was taunting him throughout the match. The one that you and me both pointed out, he screamed at Crews at one point, "Go back to Ring of Honor!
Go back to Ring of Honor!
You should have stayed in Ring of Honor." And I'm like, I don't think he ever wrestled in Ring of Honor. I don't think Uhaa Nation ever wrestled.
I don't think he wrestled in his parents' basement either.
So, but
maybe he has.
I really would love the concept of that Baron Corbin just views the entire independent scene as Ring of Honor. That's all he knows because he's never been there, so he just assumes that every independent wrestling promotion in the world is just all Ring of Honor.
Maybe he had an agent in his ear, say go back to Ring of Honor.
I don't know, but I think it worked. And even if it wasn't,
it did work.
If he did it intentionally, it worked. If he did it unintentionally, it still worked because, like I said, it's either
most people, I'd hate to say it, wouldn't know where Apollo Crews really came from.
True.
Unless you're really into the stuff, and we are.
Yeah, I guess if he throws out, go back to Dragon Gate. I mean, we'd appreciate that, but who else?
There's dragons in wrestling, yes. Drago is
Drago, absolutely. All right, so all in all, good match. Solid work between these two. Apollo Crews, though, for as good as he is...
Quick, effective ending, too. So.
Yeah, but Apollo Crews, for as good as he is, I just feel like he's just missing a little something to make me care about him. Like, I feel like they're holding a little bit too much back on him, and it's like watching a car like a Lamborghini do 90 miles an hour.
I think
like, oh, this is exciting in terms of regular people, but I know you can do more than this. Like, I don't want them to keep holding him back. I want them to let him go.
They're going to keep going with him, and he's going to pick it up a bit. I think right now they're just doing what they have to do in the beginning, and then as they move along.
I don't know though, because
it's to me it kind of reminds me back in the day of The Rock. You know what happened with The Rock, where it was Rocky Maivia.
The thing is, I mean,
not nearly the same, but kind of like that thing where you get the guy smiling a little bit, and but Apollo Crews is a lot more likable.
The thing is that
he's gonna get into a mean streak like we've seen a couple weeks ago.
I'm talking more about his general in-ring style. And,
it seems to me it's going to pick up.
I don't know that it is though, because WWE has that thing
cautious.
Of like, oh, you're a big guy, we don't want you doing standing shooting stars because half of our lighter guys can't do that sort of thing, and we don't want you showing them up. We want you to do what we perceive a heavyweight wrestler to do.
You know what?
With some exceptions. I don't know, and that's the thing I always get concerned with when I see these independent guys getting signed by WWE is that, oh, that's cool, but all the cool things that I love him for, he's never going to do half of those things again.
I think their thing is they want that kind of stuff to mean something, as crazy as that sounds. For example, back in the day when The Undertaker was doing his biker shtick, and he wouldn't bust out the Tombstone Piledriver too often, so it was busted out once in a great while, and it meant something like that. So I can see him pulling out.
The problem is that
and even Brock Lesnar tried to do a shooting star, but should he have done it? No.
The thing is, though, is that okay, you look at Adrian Neville, and Adrian Neville can do a lot of things that you don't see, that you haven't seen yet. But the thing is that when is he ever going to pull out, the shooting star knee strike or things like that, that we haven't seen him do on the main? Is he ever going to do that, or is it just a thing of like, nah, that's too dangerous, don't do that? I don't know. Like, anytime I see an independent guy now who is known for being really athletic get called up, I'm just a little leery, and I'm kind of getting that way with
Neville, I think, is a little different of a situation, mainly because, a shooting star knee drop is a bit risky. But
I'm just saying, like,
anything he
general,
does will be risky. But anything involving knees, elbows, anything like that. As far as landing on a guy, something like the Red Arrow, the worst he's doing is probably to his knees, and that's on him, unfortunately.
I'm just saying, in general, it seems like they kind of throttle these guys back a little bit. And
they
honestly,
do.
maybe it's probably for their own safety, and it's a good thing. But it just,
package pile driver.
Yeah, for me,
I'd love to see that, but they're going to bust that out at some. Maybe. WrestleMania possibly, and it's going to mean something because it's one of those moves that's high impact and looks like it could kill a guy.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. NXT Women's Championship match. Bayley defeats Nia Jax. This was a better match than I think anybody expected them to have.
The crowd was on fire.
Yeah, Bayley is probably the most over person in the company at this point. I don't know if there's anybody, save for John Cena with 12-year-olds, but as far as like universally loved,
I have mentioned this. Bayley is beloved by pretty much everybody. And if you don't like Bayley, what the hell is wrong with you? Because I've seen this said before. If you hate Bayley, it's like hating a puppy. How can you do that? Bayley is going to be one of those people in this organization that attracts everybody, and it's. I don't ever want to see her as a heel because she's super popular.
Bayley is the best underdog babyface.
She is the kind of face that she's the perfect example of what a face should be.
She's probably the best underdog babyface in like the last 30 years.
Yes.
I mean, since like Ricky Morton. Like, I really don't think that there's been anybody who just makes you want to get behind her, and then you're always nervous that she's going to lose, but she manages to pull it out in the end, and when she does, you're just going crazy. The setup for the finish this time was just Nia Jax just dominating her over and over and over again. Bayley was getting in little things here and there, but it was mainly just
chipping away at
Nia Jax just smashing away at her, and to the point where she was starting to really get that spinebuster finish going, and then Bayley just jump up, lock on a guillotine choke, and wear Nia Jax down and hold it for like 30 seconds, and then Nia would just manage to slam her off, and then you could just... And Nia did a good job of this psychologically, too, and people are going to kind of complain, like, why didn't she just pin her after she slammed her down any of those times? Like, yeah, I can understand that nitpick, but also Nia Jax is inexperienced. She hasn't had to deal with anybody really hurting her before. So, and you could tell with her body language each time Bayley locked on that guillotine choke.
Perhaps
Each time
woozy,
Nia Jax threw her off, she started off by just kind of like staggering backwards and like hands on her knees, like trying to catch her breath.
That's what we call selling, ladies and gentlemen.
The second time she dropped to a knee, she's holding her face, she's holding her neck, like she's trying to recover from it. And then just as she starts to recover again...
This is the thing we were nitpicking about.
Yeah, Bayley grabs on, goes into full Jamie Noble trailer hitch.
Yeah.
And then Nia Jax taps out, which I don't think anybody expected to do. There are some people that I've heard complain that, Nia Jax is a monster, maybe it's too early to make her tap out, maybe they should have had her pass out or whatever.
She's human!
Yeah, no, I really don't like the trope of, like, people not giving up. I think that should only be done in really specific situations, and if you're... it doesn't matter how tough you are if you're going unconscious, especially we've seen this following MMA as much as we do. You're going to quit. You're done. It's over. So, and I think that gets an extra reaction from the crowd than just like a person passing out.
Yeah,
I don't think it makes Nia look any weaker.
And something like MMA, it's very, very rare you see somebody not tap out.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often.
I think it should follow suit with this because, it would mean something.
Yeah.
It's that pugnacious attitude from Bayley that, kept her going and made Nia tap out. But, the same could be said for somebody else if they don't tap out. They couldn't give it. And when Steve Austin, remember what happened with them and Bret Hart?
Right, that was a very important
kind of thing.
moment.
That's the same idea.
Yeah.
But if you do it too many times, it's meaningless.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth noting that before this match, when they interviewed Nia Jax, there was a little stare down backstage with Asuka, so it seems like that's the next program we're building to.
Definitely.
Personally, I would prefer that they moved Asuka into a match with Bayley. You could say the whole face versus face thing, but personally, I don't believe Asuka should be a babyface or should be a heel. She should just be Death. Death doesn't take sides. Death just destroys. And I think that that's the way that they should book Asuka. It's just a matter of, okay,
Death wears a mask.
These girls came in, they taunted me, I had to handle them, I've handled them, now I can go on to what I'm here to do, which is take this belt and reign over this division for as long as I see fit. Bayley, she's a nice girl, that's too bad. And then she just moves into that, and now, because really, you talk about Bayley being an underdog. Yes, she's an underdog to big, hulking, strong Nia Jax, but that is nothing compared to how much of an underdog she is going to be perceived in the eyes of the fans to Asuka. It is basically going to be Bayley walking into a tornado. She's just going to be marching into hell, and nobody is going to expect her to come back. And how is Bayley going to deal with that? And
you got Asuka, who's extremely skilled.
Yeah,
she is very crisp with her movement. Just submissions and suplexes and strikes, and very well rounded. And for somebody like Bayley, that presents a tremendous challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's where they should move to next, but it doesn't seem like they're gonna. It looks like they're gonna move.
Hopefully they're building up to it in the future, because
I think they will in the future. But it looks like they're gonna be Asuka and Nia Jax next, which leaves the question: who's up for Bayley? If it's Emma, then I'm cool with that, even though Emma just took a loss. But I'll be very interested to see where they go with this division from here. But personally, I'm a little bit disappointed that it seems like they're not moving in the direction of Asuka and Bayley next. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our main event of the evening. NXT champion Finn Balor defends against Samoa Joe. This was a hell of a match.
Yeah.
Finn's entrance was fantastic, coming out dressed as Jack the Ripper in the demon motif.
Oh, yes.
It looked great. Samoa Joe is...
I like Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe, that's right. Yeah, they came out and somebody's job is going to be on the line because they had his name misspelled in the graphic as Samoa Joe. Somoaa Joe.
I enjoy Samoa cookies.
Samoa. That's Samoa.
Oh.
Samoa. Typos aside, though, that match...
Tremendous.
Certainly lived up to expectations. Samoa Joe has had an incredible resurgence from a guy who I saw... 7 years ago
show
in
we're
2CW,
I remember,
where I was just extremely disappointed.
Yeah,
he was
very
hurt.
quick.
He was slow. He was overweight. He's trimmed some of that weight down. He is basically the same Samoa Joe he was in 2005, 2006 when the world was in love with him. He has regained himself in a huge way. NXT has just been...
He is revitalized.
Yeah, the fountain of youth for him. And he just pulled out all the stops against Finn Balor. Finn Balor is so good at what he does. He just worked very well with Samoa Joe. You could tell these guys were planning out this match
meticulously.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the spots were great. The ending was good. There was a lot of back and forth between the two. I like the way that Finn Balor managed to counter out of the Coquina Clutch. I like the way that Samoa Joe managed to avoid a lot of his offense. You know, there was a lot of spots that you thought, oh, this is going to be it, and it wasn't it, which is just the key to a good wrestling match, building up that drama. And then when Finn was finally able to do it, it wasn't really with like his kind of trademark signature setup. He had to like fight off Joe and then just hit
drop it
and then just run.
That's the thing about finishes. A guy's finisher is, you know, you should be able to hit it, and that should be it.
Yeah.
Maybe once in a while, you know, you got to hit two, but.
Well, that it didn't have the sequence. You know, like he did the sequence before, where usually it's like sling blade, corner drop kick, boom, coup de grace.
And that's fine.
He did both of those other things a couple times.
But this is what he had to do to get through this match.
Right.
That's what he had to do to retain the championship.
So and added an air of realism to it. And then Finn did a good job in the post-match interview saying that, you know, he doesn't consider this a victory, he considers it survival. I'm going to be interested to see where Samoa Joe goes from here. If there's going to be a rematch, if they're going to move one of them or both of them up to the main roster.
And going back to the survival thing, you know, that's what I was going to mention, is that he had to do that spot, that quick ending, to survive. I mean, that's the best way.
Yeah.
Try to get the pin as soon as possible, especially after you hit your finish like that. Get it as soon as possible. If you come out of it, cool, you survived, you retain your championship, and you're out of there.
And Finn Balor's doing a really good job of... It seems like for the past couple shows, when Finn came out, the crowd would be kind of 50-50, and I think people are starting to wane a little bit on him, but then as the match goes on, he's so good at what he does that he pulls them back in.
I don't know if... I don't feel like the crowd is waning on him.
Well, there was 50-50 chance between him and Joe at the beginning.
Well, yeah.
And then by the end of it, they were all behind Finn.
Both solid performers. I think that's more along the lines of what it is.
But I think people are a little... I mean, even me, like, personally, I feel Finn is going to be at his best when he's a heel, just knowing what he's done in the past.
Yeah.
I think he's going to, and plus, I mean, a guy who is quote unquote possessed by a demon or whatever.
It's a little
corny,
generally
should be a heel thing.
It's a little corny, but you know what? It works really well as far as he goes. But like you said,
I don't think it's corny. I just think that it's out of it's not in the right context. It's a little corny,
but you know what? Yeah. With a world like we have with the Undertaker from 20 years ago, he's still going today, and it's a different kind of character, but. That supernatural kind of possession thing, I can see it working as far as...
Well, I think in Finn Balor's case, it's considered like a metaphorical possession.
Of course it is.
Not an actual in-canon possession. But like I said, it's the idea that Finn Balor needs to basically become a psycho killer.
Needs to tap into this
beat
darker side, they say.
In a big match. I think that needs to be...
But
I think they need to do it with the return of Hideo Itami, have it be like the demon was the one that injured him, and then move Finn heel
that's
from there.
What I'm getting at. Is they can take this so many ways. They can do what they've been doing, or they can do something along the lines of a psychological snap, perhaps, where, you know, it's a separate entity all of itself that, you know, takes over. God, I don't even want to be reminded of this. I just remember Black Rain.
That. Well, I don't even think they need to do that. Just maybe in general, just that dark side he needs to tap into. He just realizes, like, I need to be this all the time.
Maybe he's losing touch. You know,
yeah, he just it just kind of corrupts him.
So that's the great part. It can work in a couple of different ways.
Absolutely. So overall, compared to other NXT shows, how would you rate Takeover London?
Oh, I'd say it's on par at least. I mean, it was a very solid show. Even, I'd say, and this is not taking anything away from that match in the mid-card with Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews, but that match was probably, I guess, the lowest point of the show, but it wasn't low, you know? I'd say it's up there with the other shows. I liked it. You know, like you said, 5 matches, but they were all extremely solid matches, and it's quality over quantity, and that's what we had here.
Yeah, I love this card.
I don't want to rate it like on a 1 to 10 scale. I just say, you know, it's a great card. Check it out.
Yeah, and I love this card, and I love the way that NXT cards in general just feel so intimate compared to just your styrofoam packaged WWE pay-per-view, where WWE's, like, think about the TLC pay-per-view. They had, 5 gimmick matches on that show, and
you don't need that
you couldn't get anybody interested in half of them. And here you have no gimmick matches. These were all just straight up one-on-one contests, no
Solid.
street fights, no tables matches, no ladder matches, and you cared about every one of these matches exponentially more than you did about anything at TLC, and it's still just so weird to me that WWE is doing such a good job with this, but so poor of a job in other areas. We have our reasons as to why, and we'll discuss that in future episodes of Changing the Questions, actually, but for right now, that's going to wrap it up for us. Hope you enjoyed listening. If you want to get in touch with us, we have all of our social media set up. If you want to send us an email, you can do that at changingthequestions@gmail.com. You can check us out on Twitter at changingtheqs, so that's changing the QS. You can also check us out at our YouTube channel or on Facebook. Just search Changing the Questions. The podcast is now available on iTunes, so if you're listening that way, be sure to give us a 5-star rating, write us a nice review.
Very easy to get, guys.
Yep, you can get it in so many different ways. We appreciate all the feedback we're getting so far. We hope you enjoy this.
Please,
and,
all the feedback, more feedback, the better.
By the time you're listening to this, there probably already is another episode of Changing the Questions up, so be sure to check that out, and we'll have new episodes of that up every Tuesday and Thursday. We also just did a 2CW preview show of the final weekend of 2CW.
And if you don't know what 2CW is, please check this show out. It means a lot to us. So very near and dear to us.
We're doing just a ton of stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.